Hello, beautiful people of YouTube. Welcome to this full moon video. So I'm going to be talking about the upcoming full moon in Gemini. This is happening on November 27th at 4:16 a.m. PST. So what does full moon mean, right? And if you are wanting to sync up your life to a more natural pace, to a more organic pace, if you are finding that you're constantly feeling run down by the pace of life in this 9-to-5 society that I don't think is built for any of us, working with the moon cycles can be a really beautiful, easeful way to start calibrating to your own natural rhythm. Two of the most powerful moon cycles to really work with and track points in the moon cycle are new moon and full moon, and maybe you've heard about this and maybe that's why you're watching this video, but I want to give a little bit of background and foundation so you can actually implement this into your life and create a really cool lifestyle where you're able to work with more of nature's timing rather than, you know, patriarchy and society's timing. We need both, but I would definitely say all humans need more of nature's timing. Door slam for confirmation. So new moon is when there's no moon in the sky. It's the darkest time in the cycle. And that's a time for new beginnings, planting new seeds in that fruitful, fertile darkness. Full moons, which we have one coming up on the 27th, are a time of fullness. In a way, it's a completion of a moon cycle that we have been in. And every moon cycle lasts approximately 28 days. And this current moon cycle, we're reaching the fullness, we're reaching the culmination, we're reaching the peak and the ending of a moon cycle when the full moon comes into Gemini. So the moon moves through the various astrological signs, zodiac signs, every couple of days, and the moon happens to be coming to fullness and completion in Gemini. So what does this mean for this full moon? What does it mean collectively? What does it mean for you personally? And how can you work with it? So I'm gonna go into a little bit of a read on this current energetic and also offer you some prompts to sit with and to carry into your own life. So full moon, it's the ripening, it's the culmination, it's the end of a cycle. We're coming to completion within some kind of theme these last 28 days. So the first question to ask yourself is, over this last month, what have been some of the biggest, or even just one, points of focus? Has it been more on relationships? Or has it been more on the internal psychological planes? Or has it been more on money and finances? We are coming out of Scorpio season. So I also feel, although this full moon is in the sign of Gemini and it's in the season of Sagittarius, I believe there's definitely a Scorpio flavor to this full moon because we've been traversing the waters of Scorpio season as this moon has been building. So as we come to this fruition and this fullness, you might want to reflect on how has this Scorpio season been for you. And typically Scorpio season does roll over the realms of the taboo, whether it's sex, relationships on an intimate level, psychological karmic threads and the deep inner worlds of a relationship, heavy emotions, abuse, overcoming and healing trauma, money, debts, sex, intimacy. There are very strong underworld currents when it comes to Scorpio season. It's the things that, kind of get deemed as too much for a colloquial conversation, and the things that are a little too intense, right? So I feel with this full moon, we're coming into a place of fullness and completion. There could be some thing coming to light around what this Scorpio season taught you, what this Scorpio season had to show you. And almost I'm seeing this image because Gemini is a sign, and we're going to talk about that soon. Gemini is quite a jovial, sprightly, trickster, heyoka, kind of playful sign. And it can be many things, but it's versatile, and it's a shapeshifter, and it's a little bit cheeky, and you don't really know what's going to come next with Gemini. And Scorpio is very deep and intense, and sometimes even brooding or penetrative. So I'm getting this imagery of a balloon, a water balloon. Water is the Scorpio element filled in this balloon. Gemini is we're getting a pop on this full moon. So I definitely sense and feel that There's a relief coming with this full moon, both, honoring the magnitude of what may have unfolded in your own life over this last month, of things you may have traversed, of things you may be letting go of. Full moon can really heighten those themes. What am I letting go of? What am I releasing? What has come to the end of the line? Whether it's internally, very well could be with Scorpio season, or a certain dynamic you play out in your life or in your relationships or with your money. Like it's hit the end of the line. The water balloon's about to pop. And definitely take a moment to have reverence for the depths that you've traversed. But there is this incoming, like, fresh air. This fresh burst of air incoming is what it feels like with Gemini full moon, which is a mutable air sign. So mutable means that it's changing, right? We have the different types of zodiac signs. We have cardinal, which is the leaders, kind of initiative and setting things on track. Fixed signs, which are very, like kind of stubborn and set in their ways. And then we have mutable, which is adaptive. Like an adaptogenic sign is Gemini. It's like, I can be a little bit of this or a little bit of that, what's needed. So we have this Gemini full moon saying, okay, let's take the waters of what we've learned in Scorpio season, the depths we've traversed, and the depths we've traversed and are traversing collectively. October, November, all of Scorpio season has been a massive crisis for humanity. And Gemini, I do feel, is inviting in, let's honor the depth and intensity, but also we're about to shift tides, because what is incoming is Sagittarius season. And yes, we're already in Sagittarius season, but I feel like the season doesn't really kick in until after the full moon, and up until the full moon, which is on the 27th, I think we're still like sweeping up what was Scorpio season and preparing ourselves, bolstering ourselves for the Archer. So Sagittarius is the Archer. It's the voyager, it's the adventurer, it's the philosopher. It's not so consumed with the underworld. It actually wants to take the depth and the courage that you earn from traversing the underworld in Scorpio season, in whatever way you may have done that. I know we've all been doing it, and say, okay, now let me shoot my arrow. Where am I going? What's the bigger vision? And I feel this Gemini full moon is asking for us to pop any of the balloons that are still holding like a heavy weight in our life, perhaps. And as someone who's very Scorpio dominant myself, I think my chart's like 65% Scorpio. Maybe this will resonate for some. I'm just going to share it. I feel called to share it. It can be a fine line between honoring the intensity and the depths and what you find in the underworlds of yourself or your relationships or your heart or your processes. A fine line between brooding in that and putting it into action. And not brooding, but actually like allowing that intensity and that passion and that power that you like drag up from, that you pull up from the bottom of the barrel to then be utilized for something, which is what Sagittarius wants to do. It says, thank you so much, Scorpio, for diving to the depths. Now I'm ready to leap very far and very wide. However, we're not quite there yet. Gemini full moon. So the full moon is in the sign of the mercurial messenger. Gemini is third house energy. So in astro terms, that means your local community. It's like thinking smaller scale. It's thinking about what is in your physical surroundings, where Sagittarius is thinking about the wider community out there, past the border of the continents, into other cultures, into other continents, into other people's ways of life, into even other realms. When it comes to things like religion and philosophy, Sagittarius wants to expand in as far and as wide as it can. Whereas Gemini says, what's happening right around me? Who's my local community? What are my local resources? Short-term travel. So although we might be feeling this burst of fire with Sagittarius season, I really do feel a strong theme of this moon in Gemini is tending to the mundane, tending to what is closer in your reach and grasp, tending to the to-do list so that you can prepare yourself for the voyage. It is much more oriented on what is close to us and focal in our, sphere of awareness. What do we actually have control over in our day-to-day? So it kind of feels like planning in order to move towards the vision. getting hints perhaps with that added intensity of Scorpio season. You know, if you did Scorpio season well, you're probably feeling a little raw right now, but also like really ready to move forward in some area of your life, because that's the energy of transmutation and regeneration, of like facing the dark monster in the closet and then overcoming a fear that you realize was an illusion, and then feeling more confidence in yourself, feeling more courage to go after what you want, which is what Sagittarius wants us to do. So notice, you know, what are some bigger things you're wanting in your life right now? And it doesn't have to be huge. You know, it doesn't have to be, as much as our pop culture likes to put so much emphasis on these huge things, like having 10 or 20 or 30K months, or traveling the whole world, or living like a Kardashian, like all that bullshit. I mean, hey, if that's what you want, awesome. But it could be that you want to be a better friend, or it could be that you do want to like leave the country that you're in and travel overseas because you've never done that before. Or maybe you want to build your own business, or you want to write a book, or you want to get really fit, you know, or start eating better, drinking more water. Like it's totally relative for what really lights a fire in your own heart right now, and it doesn't have to look like anybody else's version of that. So there is a powerful opportunity with this full moon to allow yourself to dream and vision. If I were not afraid, coming out of Scorpio season, what would I allow myself to vision for and to dream for Sagittarius season? And full moon in Gemini, holding that all down, what is my practical, measurable strategy to get me there? It can sound a little sobering, but I truly believe that is the energetic of this full moon. It's not about running full tilt towards the goal. I think it's actually about tending the small and the sacred, tending to the details, tending to the connections that are going to be vital for you to grow, the ones that help you, you know, in the ways you need to be helped and support you, tending to your body, tending to your skill sets that are going to help you go towards that Sagittarian vision, right? Let's say you want to write a book. How's your writing? Like, what are your writing skills? If we just be honest and sober with ourselves and we look at it truthfully, what are the skill sets you're going to need to go after that big vision? And whatever vision, you know, whatever vision that may be, what are the skill sets you need? And Gemini can also, you know, be seen as the archetype of the taskmaster. This can be a really powerful full moon to get clear on that. Okay, what do I need to get to where I want to go? What's going to support me there? What skill sets, what activities, what routines, what short-term things, local things that are going to bolster me and fortify me for that longer-term vision and fantasy and dream. I also do feel, I was getting another theme with this full moon. I kind of said it with the balloon analogy. It does feel like there's somewhat of like a rupturing of pressure, which I personally think is really important right now for the collective. We have globally been traversing, and obviously most of us with much more safety than a certain part of the world, but we are globally in a time of like massive chaos and crisis and hurt and confusion. And it's important for these things to be so talked about, right? Like, it's important that the masses are coming together and speaking. And also, I think when I think about the nervous system, right, because a lot of the way I approach my work, whether it's astrology or woman's embodiment, is trauma informed and somatic informed. Like, what can our body actually hold, not just our mind? And I truly don't believe the human body and nervous system is built to like know how to process the amount of collective trauma that's happening. And when we are constantly, if we're on social medias, if we're being constantly, you know, inundated with so much information and media and stimulus that is very highly charged, I think it can actually have a really detrimental effect on the body, which doesn't even then allow us to show up in a way that's like gonna be beneficial. And maybe some people would cancel me for saying that, whatever. I don't care, because I know where my heart's coming from. But I feel that this like kind of pop with the Gemini energy coming in, a full moon, again, is like a culmination. It's a release point. I believe this is a huge call to action, to like release the mental pressure. This could mean taking time off social media. This could mean spending a lot more time journaling or like releasing what's going on in your mind. This could mean like moving your body in like release-oriented ways, like shaking or dancing or inducing like laughter in your system, anything that creates, right, that expand, contract, expand, contract. I just feel like this is a very powerful moon for releasing pent up mental density in the body. Because the downside of Gemini can be that it can become too in its head and go a little crazy, which is I think why Gemini gets the, you know, kind of this pop culture, pop astrology rap for being like psycho. And I think it's because Gemini can process at such a hyper speed, but that can also be really dangerous when the mind is always going, and it can create like a psychosis. And I think that although maybe in shamanic lenses, psychosis can have a place, in day-to-day society, I think the more we can kind of steer clear of psychosis, the better off we are. And I think a lot of society hits this place of psychosis and mental anguish because the mind is on overdrive all the time. Social media and entertainment and all of these articles and like everything, just the world is so full of the mind, and Gemini is the mind. It's our mental processing. So I think that this could be a powerful full moon to set the mind free, and ideally, right, in a good way, not in like a psychotic break kind of way, but in a ease the mind, let the mind be free, let the mind release, let the mind let go. And things like journaling, writing, social media detoxing, singing, you know, anything that allows you to create more spaciousness and ease in your mind is going to be really important with this full moon. So a couple prompts I'd love to leave you with to end out this video. It is a time of fullness and completion and release. So my first one is, what is coming to an end in my life right now? And I know that can sound like a really dramatic thing to say. Moon cycles come around every 28 days. How much releasing can we really do? But again, all that these cosmic movements provide for us are an opportunity to work with them in a way that helps us understand ourselves more deeply, and ideally others more deeply. You don't have to believe in it, you don't have to, you know, it's an opportunity for a reflection into your own inner nature through the observation of the external nature and world. So what is coming to an end in your life right now? Especially more of like maybe more of a cerebral level. What thought patterns are coming to an end? What distortions of your mind are coming to an end? What negative habits that you can clearly see keep you stuck in a rut are coming to an end? What's something that is ripening within you? Another question. What is the quality of your mind or your communication or your way of expressing yourself that is reaching a point of fullness? What's something you can celebrate coming into even a little bit more fullness in your life? Maybe you notice you're an ounce more compassionate. Or maybe you notice you're an ounce more humorous and not taking things so personal. Sit with yourself for a moment and reflect over this last month. What's something that's shining a little more brightly within my own psyche? And then, because it is a full moon, it is a powerful time for bringing things into fullness. It can be a very powerful time for, in a way, like shining a light on what you want moving forward. And to not hang on to it too intensely, right? Like, this is probably more of a theme on the new moon on December 12th when we're in the new moon cycle of Sagittarius. But maybe planting a seed on this full moon. What is something you would love to intend for this upcoming cycle in your life based on what you're letting go of and what is in more fullness? A natural next little step forward. Remember, we're working with Gemini. Gemini is like the piece by piece by piece. It's like the scientific method. Gemini is very much a scientist. I do this so that I do this so that I do this. Sagittarius shoots the arrow and runs after it. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're in the scientific method. We're in the step-by-step. So be gentle with yourself, right? Like, create strategic, measurable outlines for how you're going to use your energy. And if you were to pick a next little step, what's something you intend for this upcoming cycle? What would you love to bring more light in around your life? What theme? So let me know how this landed for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you on the next video. Happy full moon.